Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Webb, and I am the current chair of the Young Lawyers Division of the Philadelphia Bar Association. I would like to first take this time to thank each of you for joining us. We certainly know how busy your afternoons can be, and so thank you for being here with us. We are extremely excited to have our YLD Executive Committee election forum today, and we're extremely excited to hear about this year's candidates and why they believe that they are great candidates for these positions and will be great assets to the future of the Bar Association. Next, I want to thank my dear friend Matt Olish for agreeing to be the moderator for today's discussion. Matt is currently serving as treasurer of the Board of Governors. He's also a partner in the litigation department at Obermeyer, but most importantly, he's a past chair of YLD. And as his time when he served as chair, I had the opportunity to serve with him on the cabinet. And I thank him so much for agreeing to serve as our moderator today. I'm sure he's going to do a fantastic job and looking forward to him leading the discussion. Next, I just want to take a few moments to mention a few upcoming events that the YLD will have. The first is our event on Monday, November 22nd at 4 p.m., which is going to be held via video conference, but that is going to be titled Striking Out on Your Own, and that's going to be a discussion of starting a law practice on your own. That's an event we are partnering with the State Civil Litigation Section, and it's one we've been planning for some time, so if you are available on Monday at 4 p.m., please sign up for that event and join us. The next event I want to mention is an event that we are partnering with the Business Law Section on December 16th, and that is a spotlight on in-house counsel, where we are going to be having young lawyers that are serving or working in in-house positions, speaking to us about their current roles and what they've done during this time of COVID. And that's actually an event that's going to be held in person at City Winery. So if you are available, we'd love for you to join us on that date as well. Last but not least, we are having our holiday party on December 2nd, which will be held at the W Rooftop, the new hotel here in Philadelphia. We're extremely excited about that event. We were able to have an event at the W a few months back for our mentor and mentee program, and we're excited to go back to that venue for our holiday party to celebrate all that we've been able to accomplish throughout this year, and also our incoming chair, Mike Jones, as well as the incoming cabinet. With all that said, those are all the announcements that I need to make at this time. And so I am going to turn it over to Matt and allow him to introduce himself and tell us all a bit about the format for today's discussion, and we will go from there. Thank you.
Thanks, Andre, and thanks for inviting me to do this. I'm honored to be here, and I'm really excited as a past chair and also as an officer for the association, just to see all the really great interest from everyone who's running to be on the EC. It's really, really awesome to see. So thank you all for running. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for all that you do and for helping to keep the association going and vibrant. And it's really just great. So what we'll do is we're going to give every candidate 2 minutes to introduce yourselves and share why you're running for a seat on the EC. After that, we're going to go into a Q&A session, and I would like to encourage everyone listening who is might have questions that you want the panelists to consider. Please feel free to share them in the chat, and I will certainly consider them and try to work them into our Q&A session as we go along. So certainly, please feel free to do that if you're listening and out there. But why don't we go through, I think we're just going to go through the candidates in alphabetical order of last name and give everyone an opportunity to have 2 minutes to introduce yourselves. So Joyce, do you want to go first?
Thank you, Matt. And thank you to the Young Lawyers Division for allowing me the opportunity to be able to talk to you today. My name is Joyce Adeluba. I was born and raised in the Bronx, New York, to 2 Nigerian now citizens, but formerly immigrants. And so I'm a first-generation lawyer. I, along with my slate members, Sarah Robinson, Isabel Navarro Lopez, Antima Chakraborty, Jackie Dicolo, and Kirk Stitigru, look forward to advancing the ideals we share with the Philadelphia Bar Association. We are dedicated to creating opportunities for young lawyers, law students, and young people who aspire to the legal profession. We look forward to cultivating a more diverse group of lawyers in the Philadelphia area in order to make our legal profession stronger, more productive, and equipped to address the challenges of the 21st century. I attended the University of Virginia undergrad before attending law school in Atlanta. I practiced in the criminal prosecution in Clayton County with the Solicitor General's office for several years before joining a nonprofit in Charlottesville, Virginia, where I lobbied for the creation of social and emotional academic learning environments, which created an atmosphere which allowed more trauma-informed help for students in school so that we could decrease in-school suspension. My slate and I have forged an initiative called the Holistic Lawyer. Through this initiative, we plan to increase camaraderie, accessibility to healthy resources, awareness of diversity, and inclusion opportunities. We would like to promote professionalism through civility and foster relationships through socializing. We aim to accomplish these initiatives amongst young lawyers through small group engagement, outreach, and volunteerism. If given the opportunity to lead on the executive board, I plan to collaborate with the current board members to promote programming that allows lawyers, law students, and the law community at large to bond and collaborate professionally and socially. Thank you. I think that might be the end of my time, but please feel free to ask me questions after this.
Thank you, Joyce. Shahara.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Shahara Brown, and as you know, I'm running for a seat on YLD's executive committee. I was born and raised in Philadelphia, and I spent most of my legal career thus far serving the Philadelphia community. I started at the Public Defender Office in Philadelphia, been there for about 4 years, and now I am at the School District of Philadelphia, where I serve as an Assistant General Counsel in the Educational Department. I have the opportunity to run on a slate with some amazing and diverse young ladies by the name of Nakia Clark, Caroline Curley, as well as Samantha Fitzpatrick. And this slate hopes to increase the presence of YLD in the community, both the community at large, the Philadelphia community, as well as the legal profession, develop leaders through our outreach efforts, and create amazing opportunities for the current members of YLD, as well as trying to get new members involved. I hope that after you hear from each one of my slate members, that you get a better understanding of what we hope to accomplish and achieve in YLD. For myself, I am running for the executive committee position because my hope is to give back my time, talents, and treasure to the legal profession. I can say that I have not done that to the best of my abilities thus far. My hope is to do that through YLD. I want to participate and engage and foster relationships between YLD as well as the Philadelphia community. Some outreach efforts I hope to continue to do through YLD is the expungement clinics that I had the ability to do at the Public Defender Office with working with CLS, however, work with affinity groups within a bar association, as well as barbershop talks in the community. And as a result of these outreach efforts, provide positive incentives for the young lawyers who, provide their time in engaging in these outreach efforts. I think that's my time, but I can explain more through the Q&A session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Antima.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Antima Chakraborty, and I'm proud to be running for the YLD Executive Board with a slate of amazing, diverse, dedicated, and ambitious women. And those are the women that Joyce had already mentioned. Collectively, we will work together towards several important goals. Firstly, we will seek to increase YLD membership through small groups and outreach teams that increase the visibility of YLD. I recently had a newly minted lawyer, a woman of color, in fact, reach out to me through social media, seeking mentorship and guidance. It was not apparent to her that these resources are available through the Bar Association. We will seek to change that, to bring more visibility to the resources that we have. And these resources will be to promote healthy habits, wellness, and to avoid burnout, which is going to be another one of our second goals. I can't tell you the number of friends that I started law school with, started the career, and have now left the law. So wellness and community building is important to us. But our goals are not limited to the legal community. We will also seek to increase and help the greater Philadelphia community through engagement events, cleanups, connecting community members to resources like VIP. And a personal goal that I have is to revamp the podcast through the Bar Association. There hasn't been a lot of movement on that. And as we know, everything is digital now. And that'll be one method through which we can both reach the young lawyers legal community as well as the community at large. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nakia.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nakia Clark, and I am so excited to be running for the Young Lawyers Division Executive Committee alongside some amazing candidates. In particular, my slate, which Shahara already alluded to, including Shahara Brown, Caroline Curley, and Samantha Fitzpatrick. So a quick background on me. I am a Philadelphia native. I grew up in Southwest Philadelphia. I attended LaSalle University and Rutgers Law School. Currently, I work at the City of Philadelphia Law Department in the Code and Public Nuisance Litigation Unit. And I also serve as the Correspondence Secretary for the National Bar Association Women's Lawyers Division. My goals that I hope to further with the Young Lawyers Division Executive Committee, if elected, is one, a focus on mental wellness for both law students and attorneys. Secondly, mentorship with an increased focus on diverse attorneys and those who have overcome some unique barriers and entering the legal profession, and those of us who are also first-generation law students who are still navigating that process. Third, I would like to focus on community service outreach initiatives with a focus on underserved communities in the areas of Philadelphia. And lastly, reducing some of the entry-level barriers that both attorneys and law students face in entering the legal profession. So I hope I can answer any further questions that you guys have during the Q&A session, and thanks again for your time.
Thank you. Caroline.
Thank you again for everyone for joining us on this Friday afternoon. I know how hard that is, and finding time for this, if it feels like a great opportunity. As Shahara and Nakia have already mentioned, we are running together with Samantha Fitzpatrick as a slate, largely because we really bonded over our shared passion for public service and mentorship. You've already heard how dedicated they've been to the city of Philadelphia. I likewise have been an attorney in Philly for the past 5 years, and I've spent the entirety of my career dedicated to government service in the Philadelphia Law Department, first in the Child Welfare Unit and now in the Code and Public Nuisance Litigation Unit. These experiences have really been invaluable for me. I gained firsthand knowledge of the city's highest areas of need. So one of the reasons I'm running for YLD is to bring this knowledge to its members, to the bar at large, to really encourage and promote public interest opportunities. These experiences really not only provide critical services to fellow Philadelphians, but are invaluable learning and confidence building opportunities, especially for young lawyers. So increasing those opportunities is a primary goal for the slate I'm running on. I am also a staunch advocate in reevaluating the membership fee structure for public service and government attorneys. As I've mentioned, these attorneys are providing some of the most critical services to the city, and they are a talented, diverse, and hardworking segment of the legal community that just frankly, unfortunately, due to costs, struggle to really become involved with the bar. So my goal would be to change membership fees, find some alternative way so they could contribute to the community to alleviate that burden of becoming involved, and contribute more to the mission that the slate that I'm running on is running on. So thank you again for your time, and I look forward to any additional questions.
Thank you. Kirsty.
Hi, good morning. First of all, I apologize for any background distractions. I'm at a wedding rehearsal and I've stepped away to do this Zoom meeting. So if you hear any noises or music, I apologize. My name is Kirk Stitigru, and I'm running for the Executive Committee of the Young Lawyers Division with my slate, Olish, Joyce Adeluba, Isabel Navarro-Lopez, Nakia Clark, Jacqueline Dicolo, and Shahara Robinson. You've heard from several of these women today already. My background is that I'm a civil at a small firm called the But I came here from law school in Virginia. And the reason I'm joining or trying to join the executive committee is because of that experience. When I came here, I had no law school network, virtually no legal connections. I was the only woman attorney in my firm, and I still am. And I was the only young attorney in my firm. And I think it's very important for young attorneys to have connections with their peers. We're all, as young attorneys, developing what style we want to practice in. We're developing our character as a lawyer. Obviously, we can take different paths in that route, and I think it's critical that in developing that path and developing that style, we have a sounding board and a support group of other young attorneys who are in our own practice. I've mentioned this before in other meetings. I think it's especially important for diverse young attorneys to have access to those channels, networks that might support them with those questions, that guidance, that advice that they may need. When I joined the Young Lawyers Division, I found that guidance and advice that I need, and I want to give that same opportunity to other young lawyers. My goals and the goals of my slate are aimed toward developing those connections in a healthy and professional way. As you've heard Ms. Chakraborty mention this morning, a lot of the time we've suffered with burnout and attorneys who just feel lost, young attorneys who feel lost. And we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about more concrete plans for this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kirsty. Jacqueline.
Good afternoon. I am ballot number 3. My name is Jacqueline Dicolo. Again, I'm running on a slate, and a little bit about my background. I graduated from the University, Drexel University, Thomas R. Klein School of Law in 2020. I joined the PA and New Jersey bars and Eastern District of Pennsylvania and District of New Jersey in 2021. I currently do civil defense litigation as an associate at Sweeney and Sheehan in the New Jersey office, but I'm transitioning to family law in the new year. I'm transitioning into that position because I ran into a former colleague at a bar association event. And I think that kind of highlights, the ways that the Philly Bar Association can really help young attorneys in their careers. Networking, keeping in touch with people, and finding opportunities, not only to advance your career, but to give back to the community. The Bar Association does so much for the community, and I want to participate because I want to help put on those programs. I have some experience doing things like that as I serve on the alumni board for the University of Delaware in the Philadelphia area. I think the Bar Association is a great resource, but I think a lot of young attorneys don't really know what the Bar Association has to offer. And that's one of the things that our slate wants to focus on, is really engaging younger attorneys and making sure that they know what the Philly Bar Association has to offer them. So that's, awareness and socializing are two of the things that our slate wants to focus on. So again, I'm running on a slate with Joyce Adeluba, Nakia Clark, Kirk Stitigru, Isabel Naviera Lopez, and Sarah Robinson. And we hope you'll consider us for the YLD Executive Committee. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Samantha.
Thank you, Matt. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you all again on this lovely Friday afternoon. Hopefully everyone's gearing up for a happy holiday. I am Samantha Fitzpatrick. I am a 2019 graduate of the Villanova Charles Woodger School of Law. Background for me is that I'm a Detroit native, so I actually moved here for college. I attended Temple University for a year and completed my bachelor's degree at Lincoln, which is up in southern Chester County. After graduation, I found that I loved Philadelphia and I would be here for a while. So I set down some roots. I started law school. I have an older brother who's an attorney here in the city, and ultimately that was my entree to the legal profession. So I had the privilege of being ushered in and being introduced to attorneys in a way that a lot of my peers were not. For that reason, I had an exposure and an understanding of the Bar Association that my slate has agreed a lot of our peers do not have. And not just my slate, all of these candidates here have agreed that young lawyers, young law students do not know what's available to them. And for that reason, my slate in particular, Caroline Curley, Nakia Clark, and Shahara Brown, we are looking to strengthen those connections to the area law schools through using the law school liaison position to develop stronger mentoring connections, to improve connection to the affinity groups so that we can see the diversity that we have in our law schools translated over into our profession, into the YLD, and then to develop those young attorneys so that they can become leaders in the Bar Association. So that is kind of the summary of what we're looking to do, and we are excited to answer your questions as we go forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Isabel.
Thank you, Matt. Good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure to be here with you all. Special thank you to the Philadelphia Bar Association for hosting this event and giving me an opportunity to express to you why I should be elected to the YLD Executive Committee. As Matt mentioned, my name is Isabel Naveira Lopez, and I'm running for the YLD Executive Committee. And I am ballot position number 1. For this election, I'm slated with my colleagues Kirk Stitigru, Jacqueline Dicolo, Olutula Joyce Adeluba, Sarah Robinson, and Antima Chakraborty. Little background about myself. I was born and raised in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and I first came to Philadelphia in 2012. Went to Villanova University for both undergrad and law school. I clerked in the U.S. District Court for the District Court of New Jersey for now retired Magistrate Judge Snyder, and I'm currently an associate at Hangley, Aronchik, Siegel, Pudlin, and Schiller. And I've been involved with the YLD since last year when I became the liaison for the Hispanic Bar Association of Pennsylvania. I'm running for the YLD Executive Committee because I want to make a meaningful impact on young lawyers and the legal profession as a whole. And I recognize and I have experienced firsthand the professional and personal benefits that come from being involved in the Bar Association. If elected, my goals are as follows. First, to encourage all young lawyers, with an emphasis on diverse young lawyers, to become active members of the Philadelphia Bar Association. Second, to promote strong physical and mental health among young lawyers by expanding the availability of healthy resources, including but not limited to mental health resources, substance abuse resources, and nutrition and physical health resources. Third, to strengthen the Philadelphia Bar Association's ties to the community by organizing and attending community service events. And last but not least, to build strong relationships among young lawyers by planning networking and mentoring events. With these goals in mind, I believe the YLD can make a meaningful impact on the lives of all young lawyers and the legal profession as a whole. I'm happy to respond to any questions you may have regarding my candidacy. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sarah.
Who knew that a R last name would put me last? I don't know. Well, thank you to Dawn and Matt and Andre for putting this forum together today. This campaign process has been a very fun and unexpected challenge, but I really have loved getting to know the women on my slate and also the women on the other slate as well. I feel like every candidate running is qualified, and I am just so excited for elections to begin on Monday. My name is Sarah Robinson, and I am humbly seeking your vote to elect me to the Executive Committee of the Young Lawyer Division. I attended Westchester University for undergrad, where I studied creative writing, and I took my love of words to Villanova Law School, where I graduated in 2016. And now I'm a litigator. I'm using my words, but I am not hiding behind paper like I thought I would be as an attorney. But I love being a litigator. I am a staff attorney at Philadelphia Legal Assistance in our family law unit, where I represent victims of crime in custody, divorce, support, and protection from abuse matters. Prior to joining PLA, I was the first person to hold a fellowship at the Institute to Address Commercial Sexual Exploitation, which is a nonprofit that works on anti-human trafficking efforts. In that position, I represented survivors of sex trafficking in criminal defense and also in post-conviction relief. And I also trained stakeholders throughout the Commonwealth, including members of the minor judiciary, and lobbied for the passage of Act 71 of 2018. I'm active in the Bar Association as a member of the Young Lawyer Division, of course, and the Family Law section. I also serve as the legislative liaison for the Public Interest Executive Committee. And I'm a founding member of the Emerging Leaders Steering Committee for an organization called Just Philly. I enjoy volunteering in expungement clinics with the Philadelphia Lawyers for Social Equity and as a legal observer for the National Lawyers Guild of Philadelphia. And I decided to run for a position on the YLD Executive Committee because I felt that it was time for me to give back to this organization in a meaningful way. After 5 years of practice, I feel that I am in a place in my career where I have the confidence, the skill set, and the network to really serve the PBA and the young lawyers in particular as an elected leader. Is that my time? I wasn't seeing the
Yeah. Sorry. I just want to make sure we're giving everyone equal time. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And actually, you're first on my list for questions, so you'll get more time very quickly. So thank you, everyone, for the introductions. We're going to move into the question and answer portion. I do want to remind everyone who is participating and listening in, if you have questions that you would like us to consider and the candidates to consider, please do not hesitate to put them in the chat and I can work them in to the Q&A portion. So the first set of questions will be for, it'll be for Joyce, Sarah, and Samantha in that order. And so the way it'll work is I'll say who the question will be for. It'll be for 3 people, and I'll give the question, and then the 3 candidates will take turns answering the question. Then we'll move on to the next set of candidates and the next question, and we'll continue to do that until we have no more time left. So for those 3 candidates, the question will be this, and I think it's an apt way to start because we are here with boxes of Zoom boxes, and so COVID has changed a lot about how we operate and how we are practicing law, and a lot of those changes are somewhat permanent. As many of you know, I was in a Zoom deposition before this, and I'll be picking back up after, and many of these changes may be permanent, some of them are not. So the question is, how has the YLD helped you keep up with many of these changes, and what can the YLD do better? How can the YLD help even more to help young lawyers adapt to these changing times? And again, I think the order was, what I say, Joyce, Sarah, Samantha?
I'll go first. Thank you very much. I think that's a wonderful question. I think coming out of the pandemic social safety protocols, we were kind of isolated for a year. And so one of the things my slate has talked about was small groups and outreach. What we'd like to do with the technology, Ms. Chakraborty already mentioned, was pick up the podcast again. One of the things we say we'd like to do is reach people where they are. So whether you're on Instagram, TikTok, any of the social media, we're here. Also with the small group initiatives we're talking about, it's just reaching people where they are in the form that they want to be reached and bringing them in to be able to ask their questions, talk about their concerns, ask about healthy resources, both mental health, physical health, and just overall being able to make friends within the YLD and Philadelphia area.
I would say personally, the YLD helped me with keeping a positive outlook. I really looked forward to the publication from the YLD, the weekly newsletter, and there was one in particular, I think in the year of 2020, where the chair quote of the month was actually a lyric from a band that I really like. Not sure I should admit to this, but the band Fish. And it was a quote where it was, "Set the gear shift for the high gear of your soul." And one, I just thought, wow, this is so cool that the YLD is like sharing a Fish lyric. And then 2, that lyric in particular, really inspires people to, dig deep and find their inner strength. So personally, that kind of outreach has helped me. And I think looking forward, as the pandemic continues to impact us and change the way people work, we've all heard about this great resignation that's going on. And I think it's going to inspire a lot of young lawyers to put up a shingle. It's very apt with the program that's coming up on Monday. And I think that the YLD membership and PBA membership can provide a benefit and resources to those young lawyers looking to go out on their own and really know best practices, new technologies and ways to incorporate virtual practice into their own endeavors.
So I agree with Sarah in that the YLD newsletter certainly for me was a big part of staying connected to the profession through the pandemic. At the time, at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, I was clerking for the Superior Court, and I already felt kind of far removed. And it was like, okay, I'm not quite a lawyer, but I'm also not a law student. Where do I fit? And so having that connection to kind of remind me the practice is still here. It feels like the world is ending, but it's not, and we will get back to normal and things will come back around. Having that available was tremendous for me. I think going forward, as we kind of move into this new season, as we're seeing these changes, I think having access to resources of our peers and understanding, hey, Andre, what tools are you guys using that's helping you as you're, going into Zoom depositions, or, what other methods are we using? How are we working on our presentation, right? Because when you're on Zoom, it's a little different. How do I present myself better? And kind of advising each other, hey, look, you did well in your hearing the other day, or, I saw you at the dep the other day, you did all right, but this could be better. So I think strengthening those relationships, having those bonds being restructured so that we can still give each other the same advice we would even in this virtual format will be very important. And I think that's something the YLD can help with through networking and connection.
All right, great. Thank you all so much. Those were great answers. I especially like the pandering to the hippie vote. That was really good. All right. So the next question will be for, we'll have Shahara, Isabel, and Caroline in that order. And here is the question for the three of you. The YLD is looked at as an innovative section, I would dare say the most innovative section, that helps push new ideas in the legal community and in the association. What sort of CLEs would you like to help put on as you serve on the EC? And we'll call this the Tara Phoenix question.
Hi, Shahara Brown. Some CLEs that I would look forward to through YLD is best practices when it comes to how we have to, I guess, operate in the legal field currently, whether that's through Zoom or I would say, Google Meet, the best practices, or how do you prepare yourself, or what things and tips can a person receive when they have to transition to the current structure of our legal system, because the in-person operations are not fully up to par as it was before the pandemic. Another CLE that I would be interested in, I would say hearing or being involved in would be, sorry, this question was like put on the spot. We're coming up with ideas, but I would say the second one would be, it would have to be about time management. I say that because working from home 3 days a week is pretty hard trying to stay focused and stay in front of the computer 24/7. I find myself having to take walks to the store a lot or cleaning my house because I get distracted. So best practices for how to stay focused even when you're not in the workplace environment. And a third one would be how to stay connected, because I'm isolated. I'm vaccinated, but I'm isolated from my workplace. I'm isolated from my friends who don't want to be around me, so to speak, because of COVID. And maybe I don't have the booster shot yet. And they're like, not right now. So I would say those would be the 3 CLEs that I would look forward to either participating in or hearing from YLD.
So thank you for the question. It's a very interesting question that I think a lot of us have to think about. When you're in firms, you constantly want to get involved in CLE events and be a speaker and all that. So thanks for the question. So as we mentioned in our intro, my slate in particular is focused, on promoting diversity in the legal profession, and also expanding the availability of healthy resources for young lawyers. So having said that, I think 3 CLEs that I would be interested in creating and encouraging people to participate in would be how to handle diversity in the legal profession. All of the candidates here, we are all women. And we know that as women, there are certain things that we have to go through as women in the legal profession. So I think a CLE that discusses those hurdles that we go through and provides resources for us would be very helpful. Also, I think a CLE that talks about how to prevent burnout in the legal profession for young lawyers would be extremely helpful, especially because, as we mentioned, nowadays, we're all working virtually and everything can seem it seems like the same day over and over again. So I think especially now, a CLE about how to prevent burnout would be extremely helpful. And last but not least, as we just talked about the COVID pandemic, everything's virtually, we're doing this forum virtually. So I think a good CLE to host would be how to handle virtual lawyering now during the pandemic. So whether that is providing resources on how to handle, Zoom depositions, how to handle Zoom hearings, how to handle, communicating with opposing counsel now that everything is virtual. I think that would be extremely beneficial for members of the YLD.
My turn. I think for me, I think a lot about what would I be interested in and what would I really benefit from. And a big thing for me is, technology is constantly changing. So more CLEs that kind of deal about what is the newest and best way to deal with, Zoom depositions that we've kind of already talked about. What are some tips and tricks for doing things like that? Because as the last slate of questions asked, this is not going to go away. These kinds of things are going to be here for a while, and learning, what is the best way to present evidence before a judge when you're doing it virtually. I think CLEs that really target that would be unbelievably helpful, especially for young attorneys. And I think the other thing I often think about is, what is going on? What is going on currently? What are the public events? What are the big industries that are changing? And try to target those industries and those kind of topics. For example, I went to an event hosted by the Citizen that was about all the real estate changes and the big real estate boom in University City, and all of the kind of topics that stemmed from that, including inequality, ways that development can promote equality. I think those would really interest a lot of younger lawyers and lead to kind of really interesting discussions. So looking to, things that are topical and affecting the city on a daily basis.
Great. Thank you all. Those are great answers. Thank you. Next question will be for Nakia, Antima, and Jackie. The YLD does a whole lot for the community in Philadelphia. We have Legal Line, we have Law Week, and I know it's been mentioned the expungement clinics we've run. It's probably too much to even get into, but the question is, what sort of service projects, in addition to these that we've been doing and that we've always done, what sort of service projects do you think the YLD should be focused on?
I'm so happy you asked that question and that I received that question. So to begin, I was the president of BALSA when I was at Rutgers Law School. And something that I really wanted everyone to focus on is that when we're going into these communities, we're not the ones with the new, big, bright idea. There's always somebody who's already been doing that, who needs that support. And it's our job to kind of uplift them or support them in any way that we can. And so something that I would suggest for YLD is, look into those underserved communities, see what type of programming that they already have going on. They already have the outreach for a particular program. They already have like some resources, but they need, additional help. And so if that means us purchasing a table, setting up shop, bringing along diverse attorneys, like some of the women on this candidate slate, and just stating like, this is what the Philadelphia Bar has to offer. Oh, you're interested in law? Let's talk to you about it. Oh, let's give you money for your nonprofit. We support what you're doing, and kind of building those type of foundational levels. And then that's when you can hear more things about what the community actually needs, and you can build off of that to kind of offer your assistance. But going into the communities with, some different ideas of like maybe bringing in book bags for like a back to school program and handing it out and speaking to other, people. That's ways that we can start with our community initiatives. And then that way we'll find out different things that the community needs from YLD and the Philadelphia Bar as a whole.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I am very excited to answer this question. So 3 concrete ideas that I would like to really tackle. One will be housing and rent. We know that the moratorium will eventually come to an end. We know that there are still Philadelphians who still can't afford rent, are still being threatened to have to leave their homes. So I want to use YLD and make it more visible, perhaps through the podcast, perhaps through setting up shop, to make sure that people are not being evicted. What resources do they need because they don't know, or they don't have the availability to know, to help those individuals? That's number 1. Number 2, we have had an insurge of Afghan refugees come in. Now they're speaking a different language in a different country. They have several needs, whether that be through finding an education resource, housing, basic healthcare. We don't know, but as a slate, as a team, we can explore what they need and how we can help them. So that's going to be a really important need in the community that I'd like to explore, especially being a brown woman with these Afghan refugees coming in. And third, something that I personally feel strongly about is women's rights during divorce. A lot of underserved communities, women who are dependent on having to be married for general resources, or they feel stuck in those relationships because of financial reasons. They don't know perhaps how to leave or where to go if they do. So making a visibility to those underserved communities, those women in particular, and those resources available so they feel confident in themselves to leave a bad relationship should they have to. Thank you.
Thank you. And I agree with the answers that we've had so far. I mean, those are great ideas. Any way that the community gets help is a positive thing. I want to echo something that Nakia said about what the community needs. And I think we have some liaison positions that exist already. And I think one thing that we can really do is kind of have more engagement with those liaisons to find out, from nonprofits, what is it specifically that is needed the most? Because with our network, we can mobilize quickly and we can serve the communities that are in the most need on fairly short notice, I imagine, with our email lists and our ability to really get in contact quickly. So I think that's something that the YLD could really take on is, finding out maybe even just 3 times a year if they have a meeting with, these liaisons and find out from local nonprofits, what is the desperate need and how can we help? And, mobilize quickly for whatever the most pressing need is at that time. And I think that will be really helpful because the YLD already does, as we said, we do a lot of outreach. We do the food pantry, we provide gifts to kids at Christmas, and there's things that are already in place that are really great programs that should continue. But I think the best way to really serve the community is, the urgent need now and the best way that we can help it. Thank you.
All right, thank you all so much. The next question will be Kirsty, Joyce, and Shahara. It'll be for you three in that order. The YLD doesn't just aim to help and develop young lawyers, but also aspiring lawyers and law students. What do you think the YLD can do better to help law students prepare for practice in Philadelphia? And what can we do not only to do that, but to really help draw in law students so that when they become practicing lawyers, they become members of the association?
This goes hand in hand, and I'm sorry for the background noise. I will try to speak as loudly as I can. This goes hand in hand with my plan for young lawyers who are members. I think the key and the first step is engagement. We have to be boots on the ground at these law schools and at the law school events. That's only part of it, though. I think another part of it is teaching these young lawyers, not just in general broad swaths that this is what the law is. I want to teach these young lawyers concrete, usable skills that they will translate directly into their new careers, whether it be private practice, public interest, or something in-house counsel, or something totally different. I want to give them the practical means to develop a book of business, a resume, a network of people that they can speak to that will have them feeling empowered so that they want to be more engaged and more involved and become the leaders of tomorrow in the Young Lawyers Division. And I think we can do that through programs offered by the YLD that we will structure and shape as we go forward and use the technology, and this is hitting on a theme from earlier, the technology that we've been able to develop through the pandemic and as a result of the pandemic to connect with these individuals. These are young students. I know that we are probably here mostly millennials. I think we're starting to touch on Gen Z lawyers, and they're really into the internet scene. We can use that to connect with them in ways that we might not have been able to get in-person attendance before. So I think if we do that and we offer these concrete skills and plans, and of course, friendship, which is the same thing as networking. If we offer all of that together to these young students, I can't see them not becoming more interested and engaged and involved because their careers are at stake, their networks are at stake, and they want that from us. Thank you.
I think that was wonderful, Kirsty. I think you definitely handed off a wonderful baton. I think one thing we can do to get current students involved is doing events at the law school. I think that's very significant to be able to meet the students where they are, embracing them where they are. I too was an executive board member on BALSA when I was in law school, and being able to co-sponsor events with the greater bar associations as well as the law societies while in law school definitely increased visibility of the different bar associations within the law school. And additionally, it led to mentorship and camaraderie and networking relationships. I think definitely being able to do programming with the law societies at law schools is definitely one way to reach law students and kind of bring them into the fold, as well as encourage law student membership. I think another thing we can do apart from doing events or CLEs at the law school would also be to decrease and or eliminate the student membership fees, either through scholarships for membership or just being able to kind of fundraise to decrease the general cost for law students to be members of the Bar Association. I think another thing we can do is through the bar exam prep, because that's something we all have to do, is to create an opportunity where we are either linked with a member or just kind of like a lifeline for the law students who are studying and preparing for the bar exam to be able to reach somebody who's gone through the same experience and who can offer, if not advice, at least an open air or a meal every now and then so that they can go through the bar exam and come out on the other end. I think really just engaging people and embracing them where they are is something that's very important to my slate and myself. And I look forward to, if elected to the executive board, being able to create these initiatives. Thank you very much. I think that's my time. And again, ask me questions if you have more inquiries.
So I do think going into the schools and making YLD visible in the schools is one thing. I think mentoring is another. However, I do believe, and I don't want to call it a helpline, but it's something like a helpline. I had mentors who were attorneys, or, I had a mentor that knew a judge, but they're not always going to be accessible, or you're not going to always be able to call them because as young professionals, our time is valuable, and most of our time is spent working, even after hours. So I think that if YLD create a program, something like a helpline, where law students can call in to get, to schedule a time to be able to do an interview or mock interview for a job with a lawyer. If they call in for just tips, and this helpline is created for YLD members to be able to answer these questions, whether via email or Zoom, just making YLD present and available to these students is one thing that I believe YLD can do to gain, the trust and invite these law students into the YLD community. Also, making them more engaged in YLD efforts. There's externship programs that YLD can offer, shadowing attorneys, YLD members, current members, is one way they can see what a YLD member does on a daily basis and expose them to different areas of law, because we don't all practice in the same areas, as you can see. So I do believe that helpline will be very, very important in order to gaining the trust and the presence of law students.
Great. Thank you so much. The next question will be for Samantha and Jackie and Isabel, in that order. The YLD, one of the things that I really loved about it was the networking. I mean, and I know many of you have referenced it, just for professional reasons, but also just for social reasons. It's really one of the things that's great about the YLD, more so than any other section. And there's happy hours, but there's other networking opportunities as well. And so the question is, what sort of networking events would you like to help plan and put on if elected to the executive committee?
Thank you for the question, Matt. One of the things that we've been very intentional about on my slate is talking about diversity and the increase, how we want to see diversity increased, and not just increasing in a soft way, we reached out to these organizations, but truly being active, truly connecting with affinity organizations, affinity bar associations, as well as student groups that are actually, actively involved on their campuses, and kind of connecting them. So in a way, we're hoping to develop networking programs that allow us to stimulate a cross-pollination of affinity groups. So we're able to bring in the Hispanic Bar Association and the barristers and BALSA and WALSA from different schools and say, hey, let's commingle, let's find a way that we can pool our resources, and then at the same time offer greater exposure to our membership to maybe cultural ideas that they had not addressed before, or addressing the challenges that are faced by diverse attorneys as they come into the practice. And, hey, I never really thought about what it's like to be the only Black woman practicing at an insurance defense firm. I can tell you firsthand, it's very difficult. But a lot of people don't know that, right? And if no one ever asks me about the experience, I'm not going to go around and say, yeah, it's really tough being a Black girl. So it's important that we create those spaces that allow us to both inform and to connect.
I think the YLD does a great job of providing opportunities to go and network. And, there's usually a free drink and apps. So when you're, especially young attorneys, when they're feeling the pinch, they might have their dinner done for them. And I think they're great opportunities. But I think sometimes, especially for young attorneys in the profession, just going to any networking event can be very intimidating. And a lot of times, they're dreaded, and you go to them and then you leave and you haven't really gained anything from the experience. So I think just, a few other types of networking events where there's kind of more structure, where, maybe it's like speed dating, where you just kind of talk to a certain number of attorneys for even 5 minutes and then you rotate, where, you learn who that attorney is, what's their background, what do they do, what's exciting about their job, what don't they like about that job, what are they involved in, kind of things like that, just so that networking events aren't just grabbing a drink and trying to mingle, but they're structured so you get something out of it and you really, learn from the people that are in the room with you, and you learn meaningful things about a career that somebody else has that you could have, and just kind of structural ideas to make them really worth it. So that's what I would do.
This is a great question. I'm happy you asked it. I actually, as a liaison for the Hispanic Bar Association, I actually planned the most recent October YLD happy hour, and it was a success. And I thought it was a blast, and I really enjoyed it because I came out of it. I met 6 or 7 new attorneys I had never met, and I came out of it. I was like, wow, this was such a great event. I met so many new people from different areas of the law. So I definitely think it's very important for the YLD to continue doing events like that. In addition to doing events like happy hours, I also think, like Samantha said, it's very important to sort of coordinate with the other affinity bar associations and create more networking events and mentoring events with them, so that in that sense, we could also, increase diversity in the Young Lawyers Division by doing that, by creating these events with the different affinity bar associations. Other than that, I enjoy a happy hour as much as anyone else, but I also think the YLD should start creating these events that are not necessarily just for going and having a drink. I think we could do more fun activities. Like, for example, now in the fall, we could go apple picking or pumpkin picking, and I think that would be really fun. Also, we could do workout classes or yoga classes, since, one of our goals as a slate is to promote health and nutrition and just a healthy lifestyle. So I think it would be really nice if the YLD created these sort of events where we can, if maybe someone's getting ready for their wedding and they need to work out, well, I think they would really appreciate if the YLD creates these networking events that are, a yoga class or something like that, or a spin class, or also trivia night. I think trivia nights are always winners. So yeah, those are just a couple of the ideas that I can think of off the top of my head.
All right, great. Thanks, everyone. Lots of great ideas there. Next question is for Antima, Caroline, and Kirsty. What do you think the YLD can do better? What give an example of something the YLD can do better to better serve young lawyers?
Thank you so much. So I think this is one of the things that I mentioned when I first started is visibility to the larger Philadelphia community. I really enjoyed getting the YLD emails, especially, being able to log on and do the Wellness Wednesdays. And those were tailored towards young lawyers. And we have several ideas as to how we can continue to improve the connections between the young lawyers. But what I would like to do, and what I think the YLD can do better, is more for the Philadelphia community. And while that sounds like a larger idea, I think throughout our forum here today, I'd mentioned some specific ways and specific things that I would like to see have done. Of course, one of the things is something directly involving the Afghan refugees that are coming in. That was one of my ideas. And the other one is, of course, is using the podcast and using methods that people we know look at, such as the podcast, such as social medias, to get the word out there that there are lawyers here available who can answer questions that are relevant to you, not just, we're sitting here with our suits and we don't care, like, okay, you're being evicted, where can you go to get that resources? You need to be connected to someone who speaks Farsi, okay, where can you get those resources? So that's something that I think YLD can do better. And I have specific bullet point ways that we can achieve that, not just these grandeur ideas. Thank you.
I think one of the things, YLD does a great job of, making presentations and giving information out there to young lawyers. I think one of the things that I've really enjoyed the most is the recent implementation of the formal mentorship program, like linking people up. And I think what that does is really gives you a bridge into the Bar Association, where you might be, where especially young lawyers are going to be a little bit hesitant to get involved and not really know what the best way is. So that's been super valuable to me. So figuring out ways to really make that bigger, emphasize to young lawyers that there is a way to get involved, what the benefits would be to getting involved, and finding ways to not only get them to come to events, but to get them to participate in committees, to get them to feel confident enough to do CLEs, to contribute to events. Because I think really getting involved with those activities will make you more invested in the organization as a whole. So communicating that and really soliciting volunteers to help plan an event, not just leave it, up in the air to some people, making sure that that idea is really clear to people. Thanks.
I think and I keep harping on this engagement, but I think that's because that it is so important to me. And it is one of my top goals here. And I think an area of improvement is reaching new YLD members. And to an extent, also law students who are future YLD members. I would like to see more engagement. And this comes from my own experience. So when I first joined the Philadelphia Bar, and I'm overwhelmed with having taken the Pennsylvania bar exam, getting admitted to the Eastern District, taking the Jersey bar exam, all of these things. And this is, I think, a common story among young lawyers are inundated with information. It's not clear, and there's no clear path to joining the YLD or getting more involved. And I had that problem. I knew of it, and I wanted to get more involved. I just didn't know how. I wanted to take concrete steps to connect new lawyers with, and this is just program I've thought up without knowledge of the inner workings of the executive committee as it stands. I want to create small groups that new members can say, okay, well, I may not want to talk to the executive committee. I want to talk to my person. And it doesn't have to be a mentor. It could just be my person. And this person is a volunteer who oversees a small group of, let's say, 30 to 40 individuals. And that's just someone to reach out to and ask. And I think there's a big difference in accessibility between going to the website and seeing a list of executive committee member emails and having someone who was assigned to you and this is your person. And there's a level of comfort there that will encourage young lawyers to actually get more involved, because it can be intimidating to Google it and find the website and not know how to sign up for the listserv or not know how to figure out which divisions or sections or committees you want to sign up for. I think that we need someone there, a resource whose sole purpose is just guidance, another fellow young lawyer who can say, I've been in your shoes, I understand your position, and let me help you figure out what you need. Happy to answer any questions about how that would play out or what it would look like. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think this is going to be our final question. I think the format is calling for every candidate to get 2 questions, and I believe everyone except Sarah and Nakia has gotten 2 questions. Is that right? Just want to make sure. Okay, great. Then the tracking I've been doing has been working. Wonderful. Okay, great. So this will be for Sarah and then Nakia. And the question is this. So the YLD Executive Committee is certainly, the most engaged component of the largest section of the Bar Association. The Young Lawyers Division is, the largest individual section of the association, and the Executive Committee is the most engaged members of that section, but how do we make sure that the rest of the division is informed? How do we really make sure that we're reaching the rest of our membership in the Young Lawyers Division?
Do you mean beyond the executive committee?
Yeah, beyond the executive committee, how do we make sure that the rest of our membership is as informed? Because we know that the executive committee is going to know what's going on, but how do we make sure that we're reaching everyone else so they're up to date on what's going on and are coming to things? How do we stay connected with the rest of the division?
Right. I think that we could expand our communications. I think that the staff of the Bar Association does a tremendous job with the existing publications. But I would like to see an expansion of certainly the social media. I know that there is a YLD Facebook, but I think that we could be leveraging other platforms, social media platforms, to reach out to young attorneys. We could also, as my slate mate had mentioned, revamp the podcast, just get information out on various different platforms. In addition to the newsletter that I mentioned that I enjoy, I think that we are all consuming news and information in different ways. So we really need to expand our reach and reach members, whether they're at a sporting event or at a restaurant, a new restaurant or a bar, and just making sure that we're accessing people and giving them information exactly where they are. Because it's very easy to just go ahead and delete an email, or an email sits in your junk folder for a while. So I think that we should use different tools and platforms to reach out to our membership.
I think a great way that we can do it is by engaging those members who are showing interest, whether they're at the law student level or young attorney level. If they are interested in being a member of the Philadelphia Bar Association Young Lawyers Division, say, okay, we're hosting this event. Do you mind signing people in and assisting us in that way? Do you mind, taking the lead alongside someone else who is already a liaison, or someone who is in a committee already, to help organize an event and doing things like that so that they can feel like they're a part of the larger organization? I think one of the main things that we could focus on, and I stated this at the last forum, is revamping the fee structure for law students and allowing them to be a member of YLD, to receive the email blast, to see what this organization has to offer. And that way they'll be more inclined to stay a member of the organization. So having people engaged in ways such as assisting on programming and things like that is a wonderful way to continue to expand our membership and to expand what we're doing as far as communicating it to other individuals. Also, as a corresponding secretary myself for the Women's Lawyers Division, social media plays a large role in that as well, whether that's Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, or whatever, and just kind of making sure that whatever we're discussing, whether it's at an executive meeting or if it was at a general body meeting, that information is also disseminated to the members and the community at large. And just also something else that we do currently is that we offer 2 different ways that people can join us. And so whether someone is comfortable coming in person because, post-COVID, or if they're more comfortable and it's easily accessible for students, to just join in online and just trying to think of more creative, imaginative ways that we can expand our membership. I think that's really important.
Great. Thank you so much. I think that is the conclusion of the Q&A period. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for all your answers and for your participation here, and really for running above all else, and for really wanting to be a part of the executive committee, which is really just it's something that is very special to me and special to Andre, I know, and special to a lot of us, who have put a lot of time and effort into the Young Lawyers Division. And once you're a part of it, it's always with you. So it's really, really important that, we keep it going. And so it's really, I appreciate that you all want to be part of the executive committee. It's great to see, such a strong slate of candidates running. So thank you all so much. Thank you everyone who's participating in the panel today, and please vote and encourage people to vote, and encourage people who are not members to join to vote. I think that's the most important thing. Get everyone to join so they can vote for you. That's what I would say. But thank you. Andre, any closing words from you?
No, thank you so much, Matt. I really appreciate it. We'll let you get back to your depositions now, but thank you all, everyone, for being here today. Hearing your answers, I thought all of them were phenomenal, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you all do with YLD and the ways that you grow each of our initiatives and get the word out more about what we do for the Bar Association and in the local community. So thank you all again, everyone. Please enjoy your weekend and best of luck when the ballots come out on Monday. Take care.
Yep. Bye, everyone.